This is Learn English with Ease.
English made powerful, simple, and yours.
You know, Emma, I used to sit for hours trying to memorize English tenses, past, present, future, perfect, continuous, and I thought, if I can just remember the rules, I'll finally sound fluent. But every time I spoke, my brain froze. It felt like all those tenses I studied had just vanished into the air.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. That moment when someone asks you a simple question like, "So what did you do yesterday?" And your brain goes, wait, do I say did, have done, or have been doing? And you panic because you know you've studied it. You've done the exercises. You've even watched YouTube videos about it. But when it's time to speak, it's like your mouth refuses to cooperate.
Exactly. It's like you know the grammar in your head, but your heart doesn't trust it. You don't feel the language, you just try to recall it. Like searching through a messy drawer for the right word. And every second of silence feels like a spotlight on your failure.
You know what's crazy, Jack? Most English learners think their problem is grammar, but the real problem is something deeper, something emotional. Because tenses aren't just about time, they're about connection. The moment you try to memorize them, you disconnect from real English.
Wait, what do you mean disconnect?
Think about it. When a native speaker says, "I've been waiting for you," they're not thinking, "Ah, yes, present perfect continuous." They're feeling the situation, the waiting, the time, the frustration, the relief. It's emotional. But when learners speak, they think about formulas. And that's where fluency dies.
That's deep. So you're saying, we're trying to remember English, not feel it. And that's why we sound robotic or fake, even when our grammar's correct.
Exactly. You can memorize every tense perfectly, but if you don't connect to the feeling behind it, you'll always sound like you're reading a grammar book aloud.
Wow. That actually explains something I noticed. When I speak my native language, I never think about tenses. I just know what feels right. But in English, I second-guess every sentence, like I'm being tested in my own conversation.
Right, because your brain's in exam mode, not emotion mode. And the human brain wasn't designed to speak from rules. It was designed to speak from feelings. Even babies don't memorize tenses. They absorb patterns through emotion, tone, repetition, and context. They don't say past perfect continuous. They just say, "I'd been crying all day," because they felt it.
So what's the secret then? How do you go from memorizing to feeling English?
It starts with how you listen. If you listen to English like you're studying, your brain stays cold and analytical. But if you listen like you're living it, through stories, emotion, scenes, moments, your brain starts mapping feelings to grammar automatically.
That's crazy, because I remember once, I watched this old romantic movie and the actor said, "I was waiting for you." And I didn't even notice the tense. But the way he said it, the tone, the sadness, I felt the meaning before I translated it. And that sentence stuck in my head forever.
Exactly. That's what I mean. When you feel the moment, your brain locks the language in place. You can't forget it because it's attached to emotion, but when you study it like math, without context, you're basically trying to store grammar in a part of your brain that wasn't made for memory of feelings.
So when learners say, "I keep forgetting English tenses," they're not actually forgetting the grammar. They're forgetting the emotion that connects to it.
Yes, and that's why they feel like they understand English but can't speak it. Because speaking isn't logic, it's rhythm. It's emotional timing. It's like music. You don't think about the notes, you feel the melody.
So maybe English tenses aren't rules after all. They're like emotional timelines. You don't say "I did" because of grammar. You say it because that moment is gone. You've already moved on. You say, "I have done" because part of that moment is still alive in you. It's connected.
Exactly, Jack. That's what native speakers do subconsciously. They link emotion to time. They don't think, "Okay, now I'll use present perfect." They just feel that something still matters right now, so they say, "I've done it." And the funny part, when you feel it like that, you can't get it wrong.
That's powerful. So instead of asking, "Which tense do I use?" learners should ask, "How do I feel about what I'm saying?"
Yes. Because when you ask that question, your brain instantly aligns with the correct tense. It's like turning on emotional Wi-Fi. Suddenly, the sentences connect automatically.
So, you're saying fluency isn't about grammar. It's about emotion-memory connection. And if we can retrain the brain to link feeling, grammar, we'll speak more naturally, even without thinking.
You got it. But here's the tricky part. Most learners never reach that emotional layer because they were taught to fear mistakes. And fear blocks emotion. It's like trying to sing when you're scared of being off key. You'll always sound stiff.
That's so true. I remember in school, every time I made a grammar mistake, the teacher corrected me in front of everyone. And that one moment, that embarrassment, made me afraid to speak for years. Even when I knew the answer, I stayed quiet.
Exactly. And that fear still lives inside your voice. That's why when you speak English, your tone becomes tighter, smaller, unsure. You're not really speaking. You're defending yourself. You're trying to sound correct instead of real.
So the next time I say, I was waiting, I should focus on the feeling of waiting, not the rule behind it.
Yes, because your brain loves stories, not formulas. And every tense tells a story.
A story?
Yeah. Past simple says, that moment is gone. Present perfect says, that moment still touches me. Future says, that moment is waiting for me. Each one carries emotion, time, and memory in one heartbeat.
That's beautiful, Emma. No grammar book ever said it like that.
Because grammar books teach rules, not reality. But fluency isn't born in your brain. It's born in your heart.
You know, Emma, your words just reminded me of something that happened years ago. I was at this cafe in London, trying to impress a girl I really liked. She was British, bright smile, quick wit, and this effortless way of speaking English that made me feel like a child with a dictionary.
Oh no, I can already sense where this story's going.
Yeah, you're right. So, we were talking about movies, and she asked, "Have you seen Inception?" And I panicked. I wanted to say yes, but my brain froze. I was like, I have seen, I sawed? I completely messed it up. She tried not to laugh, but that little smile, the kind that says, "You're cute, but you're lost." Yeah, it broke me.
Ouch. That hurts. But I get it. You weren't just embarrassed about grammar. It felt like you weren't you, right?
Exactly. I felt like my real self, my funny, confident self, was trapped behind this invisible wall of English rules. And the worst part? That wall was made by me. All those years of memorizing tenses didn't make me confident. They made me terrified of being wrong.
That's exactly what so many learners feel. They think fluency comes from perfection. But perfection kills connection. When you speak your native language, you don't chase the right words, you chase truth. But in English, you start chasing approval. And that's where your natural rhythm disappears.
Yeah. That day at the cafe, I realized something. She wasn't judging my grammar. I was judging myself. She didn't care if I said I saw or I've seen. She cared if I was present in the conversation. But my brain was stuck in the past perfect tense, both grammatically and emotionally.
Wow, that's poetic. Stuck in the past perfect tense. But it's true. When we obsess over mistakes, we stop living in the moment we're speaking. And English, or any language, is a living thing. It's not meant to be dissected. It's meant to be felt.
If I could go back to that day, I'd do it differently. I'd stop trying to sound like a textbook. I'd just laugh, say, yeah, I've seen it. That movie messed up my brain. Something real. Because now I understand, fluency isn't about being right. It's about being real.
Exactly. And once you make peace with that, your entire relationship with English changes. You stop fighting it and start dancing with it. Because language is like music. It doesn't want to be forced. It wants to be felt.
Yeah. I think that's why native speakers sound so confident. They don't think, am I correct? They think, does this sound like me? And that's why learners need to stop chasing grammar and start chasing themselves.
Yes, because when you speak from yourself, from your real emotions, even your mistakes sound beautiful. They sound human. And honestly, that's what people remember. Not your tense, not your accent, but your energy.
That's powerful. I mean, think about it. When a child says, I go to the park, you don't correct them harshly, you smile, right? because they're learning through feeling, through trial and connection. But when we're adults, we lose that permission to be messy. We stop learning emotionally and start performing mechanically.
Exactly. And that's why I tell every learner, forget the fear, forget the formula. Fall in love with the feeling of English, because that's how fluency finds you. Not when you force it, but when you feel safe enough to let it flow.
So the question isn't, how do I remember English tenses? It's, how do I feel safe enough to express myself freely? And once you unlock that, English stops being a subject. It becomes your second heartbeat.
Beautifully said, Jack. And here's something I want everyone listening to remember. You don't learn English by memorizing the past. You learn it by living the present. Every time you express yourself, even imperfectly, you are teaching your brain that your voice matters.
That's deep. So, every sentence I speak, even with mistakes, is proof that I'm growing, that I'm brave enough to show up again.
Yes, because fluency isn't built in silence, it's built in courage. Every wrong sentence is a step toward emotional freedom.
You know, that actually makes me emotional. I think of all the learners out there who stay quiet in class, who delete their English videos, who think they're not ready yet. They're not broken. They're just scared to be seen.
And that fear is so human. But the moment you stop hiding behind grammar, you'll realize you already speak more English than you think. You just need to let it sound like you.
I love that. Let English sound like you. Not perfect, not polished, but honest.
Exactly. Because English isn't about correctness, it's about connection. And when you speak from your heart, people feel it. Even if you miss a word, even if your tense slips. They don't remember your grammar. They remember your energy.
You know, Emma, if someone had told me years ago, stop memorizing, start feeling, I think I would have found fluency so much faster.
But now, you can be that voice for others. That's the beauty of it. Your struggle becomes someone else's shortcut. Every learner who listens to this right now can take that message. You don't need to fix your grammar. You need to forgive yourself. Because the more you forgive your English, the more fluent you'll sound.
That's so true. And maybe that's the real definition of fluency, not speaking perfectly, but speaking without fear.
Exactly. Because when fear disappears, flow begins. And that's when English finally becomes yours.
So maybe the real lesson today isn't about tenses at all. It's about trust. Trusting your feelings. Trusting your voice. Trusting that every word you say carries meaning, even if it's not perfect.
Yes. And that's the kind of English no grammar book can teach. The kind that comes from the soul.
So if you're listening right now, stop forcing yourself to remember tenses. Start feeling them. Watch movies, listen to songs, imagine moments. Feel what I was waiting really means. Feel what I have loved feels like. Because those emotions, they're your real teachers. Exactly. And next time you speak, don't ask, is my grammar correct? Ask, does this sentence feel true to me? Because when it does, you'll sound more natural, more fluent, and more you than ever before. You know, Emma, I think that girl at the cafe would have liked this version of me more. The one who doesn't care about tenses, but cares about connection.
I think so too. Because the moment you start speaking from your heart, you stop needing to impress anyone. You just start to express yourself.
That's beautiful. All right, for everyone listening, if you've ever struggled with tenses, if you've ever felt stuck, just remember this. Don't memorize English, feel it. Because grammar fades, but emotion stays.
Exactly. And if this episode touched something in you, don't keep it quiet. Share it, comment below what you felt, and tell us the one English tense that always confused you. Let's talk about it together.
Yeah, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet, because next episode, we're diving into something even deeper. Why you sound shy in English, and how to break that voice barrier. It's going to change the way you see your voice forever.
I can't wait. Remember, guys, fluency doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your mind and in your heart.
Exactly. This is Jack,
And Emma,
helping you learn English with ease.